This is IT 301 course web page construction. I am Shanta Pieratna from IT Center, University of Peradeniya. Due to the current situation, in this time, we are going to deliver this course through online. Actually, this course contains two components, lectures and practicals. Practicals also demonstrate using videos. So if you have any doubts or problems regarding practicals or lectures, you can contact me. I'll put my contact details in your course material page. Before going to develop web pages, we have to study some basic concepts. We can study those basic concepts one by one. Then if you have any doubts again these concepts, just you can contact me. First one is computer network. I think all of you have a little idea about this computer network. What is computer network? Simply we can say computers and related devices are interconnected by communication channels so that they can communicate with each other. Why do you mention these devices? So in a computer networks, it may be a computer or any related devices. That means it may be a network printer, or it may be a smartphones, or it may be a IP phone. Likewise, in addition to computers, we can say any devices related to the network. So simply we call host. All those are referred as host. So why do we need this computer network? Assume that we have a one network printer, then we have five computers. Then we can share that printer among those five computers if you have computer network and all those computers are attached to the network and the network printer also attached to the network. Then why do we need this computer network? To share information and resources, especially resources, right? So this is example for a computer network. Here you can see a laptop connected to the network and the smartphone also connected to the network, and here tab computers are also connected to the network. Likewise, various devices can be connected to the network. So you can we can share those resources among the network devices. And next one is the internet. So in the world we can find various type of networks. It may be a public network, or it may be a private network. It may be a academic network, that means a network which is in education institute like university network, and all those networks connected to the one particular network. That means networks of network can be identified as a internet. Then all the networks are connected to the one particular network in the world. We call that is the internet. There can be only one type, there can be only one network like that. So that's why we call the internet, right? Then we call network of networks. It may be a private network or public network, academic network. All are connected as a one whole network. Then we call that is the internet. So like this, right? So there may be some private network, or there may be some academic networks, right? So various type of networks connected to the one particular network. So in the world we call one that kind of network is available, that is the internet. Next one is the protocol. What is protocol? Simply we can say a protocol is set of rules to do particular task. That means we can define set of rules to do a particular task. Let's see a famous example. Say I want to send a letter from one place to another. Then we can write that letter and then put into an envelope. Then there are some rules that we have to follow. So in our right hand top corner we have to put stamp. So in right hand bottom corner of the envelope we have to write address of the recipient. Then left hand bottom corner we have to write address of the sender, right? So once think about once if you change this address, actually the location of this address, that means if you have write this recipient address in here and then sender's address in here, then we can't send the letter in proper way. That means when you sending letter there are set of rules that we have to follow, right? So that is called a protocol. That means there are set of rules to do a particular task. In here our task is sending a letter. Once if you want to send a letter you have to follow these rules. Likewise, when you do particular task in computer network there are predefined rules that we have to follow. Those set of rules are called protocol. If you want to do a particular task there is a defined protocol. First one is HTTP, simply we call Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Actually this protocol stands for send hypermedia informations through the network. Hypermedia means when you send data through the network, the data can be a text or it may be a video, it may be a audio, right? So all those are referred as hypermedia. When you send a particular data through the network we call hypermedia. Simply web page also transferred to one computer to the another computer through the computer network, we use this HTTP protocol. So in this protocol they define how distributing this message and how those messages are formatted and transmitted. Actually before going to the next protocol we have to study another topic called encryption. To identify the understand this concept, I'll take few famous characters. Here we have actually you know this cartoon called Tintin. In here we have character called Captain Haddock, and this is Tintin. Captain want to send a message to Tintin without exposing third party. Actually in this cartoon there is another character called Rastapulus, right, who is enemy of these two characters. So this character, actually this person want to know what is this message, right? Assume this is the communication channel, right? So assume this captain need to send message called hello, right? So instead of sending the message called hello, what can we do? We can use we can translate this message into unknown format, actually unknown format to the third party. So in order to do that they use this kind of conversion table. That means in here I have English alphabet. So according to this character I map another character using this at conversion or the conversion table. So in here H map to a character called A and E map to character called C. Likewise, I can translate this message into unknown message for third party. Right? So once if you translate using this translating table, so this message can be converted to something like this. That means hello, H translate to A, C translate to B, sorry E, next one is, first one is H translate to A. I'm talking about the characters of this message. H translate to A, E translated to C, and L map to G, again L map to G, O map to K. So I convert this message called hello to A, C, G, G, K. So then captain now convert this message into some kind of unknown format, right? So this is what we call encrypt the message. Encrypt. Then captain can send this message to Tintin. This message called ciphertext, that means encrypted message. Then once Tintin got this message, then what he have to do? He have to do the reverse process of the encrypt. That is what we call decrypt. So again he need to know this translating or this converting table. That means he have to convert. Now he have to do the reverse process. So this is the A. Then he have to convert A into H, C, C from here to map to E, and then G, G map to L, again G map to L, then K, K map to O. Then he can identify what is the message, that is hello. So that reverse process is called decrypt. Captain encrypt the message, Tintin have to decrypt the message. Then captain send the message called ACCGGK. Then even third party people track this message. He can't identify the message without knowing this converting table, right? So this is called encryption. Then we discussed the protocol called HTTP. That is a protocol for sending or transforming the web pages. There is another protocol called HTTPS. Actually that is extension of HTTP. So in here when you send data using the HTTPS protocol, the sending data is encrypted. That is, here we call this is secure communication method. This is secure communication method over the computer network. This next one is IP address. IP means internet protocol. So why do we need this internet protocol? So this is used to unique identification of a computer which is attached to the computer network. That means when you send data from one computer to another computer in the computer network, that those two computers must have unique identification. Otherwise we can't send that data in proper way. For example, if I want to pass message to the students, I need your identification. If I say a message call, say you say your name, then I put your name and then ask for that student to meet me. Then assume that there are two students with that name. Then my message is not properly passed. So I have to use unique identification. That means in our case we can use student registration number. That means by using student registration number, student student can uniquely identify. So in computer network there should be a unique identification for a computer or any device attached to the network, simply called host. So there are two versions in the world: IP version 4, IP version 6, IPv4 or IPv6. So we discussed the IPv4, actually the format of IPv4, which is 32 bits in size, that is 4 dotted decimal numbers. Those numbers are separated using a dot, right? So each value from 0 to 255, something like this, right? There's a number which is in range from 0 to 255 and put dot, and the next one, next one, next one. All those numbers are in range 0 to 255, right? Like this, 0 to 255, 0 to 255. So for example, we can say 124.50.110.25. For example, say another example, 192.168.115.10. So all the computers or any device attached to the network should have a IP address. If you use IP version 4 or IPv4, that is 4 dotted decimal numbers. So for example, assume in this computer I assign a IP address called say 192.168.112.100. Again, this one has this IP address, this one has this IP address. All those are unique identification. Actually, unique identification means the say one particular IP address cannot assign two computers. That means this IP address cannot be duplicated over the network. So that's what we call this is unique. That means two computers cannot have a same IP address, right? So Internet protocol or IP address can be defined as a set of rules governing the format of the data sent over the internet. So that is the usage of the computer network. So why do you need the IP address? To identify particular device attached to the computer network in uniquely, or simply we can say uniquely identification of the computer. So when you're sending data from one computer to another in internet, so this IP address is very important. So without unique identification we can't send a data in proper way. So therefore IP address is very important thing in computer network. Next one is a client server architecture. So there are two types of computers are connected to the network. One is called client, the other one is server. So this is the this is a simple diagram of the client server architecture. So this is we call server, these are called clients. So clients are always request services from the network, whereas a server always serve the services to the clients. Client always request for services. The request can be a web page, or it may be a data, or it may be another file, likewise, right? Client always request services from the network. Server always responds to the services. That means server always serve the services to the network. That services may be a web page or files or data, anything, right? So this is how web works, right? In www, so I'll discuss this www in later, right? So in there we have a client and server. Client request web page from the server response for that request. That page request may be HTTP or HTTPS. So depending on the implementation of the web server, that responds to the client. Actually, when you say, request for a web page, we have to use web browser. Once if you request web page from the server must have a web server, that is another software. That web server responds to the client request. That means provide the web pages. Then what are the services available in internet? First one is World Wide Web. Next one is web hosting. Web hosting means the storing web pages or website in a storage. Storage means a web server, right? So websites can be stored in a web server. Usually we call hosting. Next one is email or electronic mail. The next one is mobile apps and IP telephone, IP phone. That means when you can send the data or you can send the voice through the network. And file sharing. World Wide Web, web hosting, sending emails and mobile apps, IP phone, file sharing. I'll take the first one, www, World Wide Web. What is World Wide Web? Simply we can say World Wide Web is a information system, or we can say information space where documents and other web resources are identified by URL. URL means Uniform Resource Locator. So by using the URL we can access particular web resource. It may be a document or it may be any other web resources. That means it may be an image, or it may be a video, it may be a audio, something like that, right? So you need web browser to access web pages. Then what is website? Actually website is a collection of web documents which are made available to the public. That website basically contains index page or home page. That is the first page of the web page. Actually web pages are individual web documents, right? So you know our university have web and your faculty have web, right? So all those are contains web pages, right? Those pages contains informations. Information can be available as text, or it may be a pictures, or it may be a audio, or it may be a video, something like that. Next one is I told you that web resource can be accessed using URL, or we call Uniform Resource Locator. So that is the web address reference to the any web resource. So by using this web address we can access the web resource, right? So it URL specify the location on the computer network and mechanism to receiving that web resource to the response. This URL is specific type of uniform resource identifier, or we call URI. URL occur most commonly to the reference of the web page, but also used to the file transfer and emails database access as well. That means you can access the particular database using its URL. So you can access particular file using its URL. You can access the web page using URL. So when the server sending the web page, they use HTTP protocol. The server sending the file, they use the protocol called FTP. When you access the database, there is a method called JDBC, right? And then next one is what is the format of the URL. So this is the format, this is the common format of the URL. Initially we have to specify what is the protocol. If it is a web page access, that may be a HTTP or HTTPS. If it is a file access, it may be a FTP. And then here we have the domain name or the location of the website, and here what is the web page, right? So HTTPS indicate the protocol. In next we have a host name. Host name means the location of the website, and the next one is what is the file name. The next concept is URI, Uniform Resource Identifier. That is the sequence of characters which identify the abstract or physical resource. That is the identifier for a particular resource, like in your name, right? By using your name, I can identify the student, right? But I can't uniquely identify, right? But I can identify who is that student. That is name, right? Name is also URI. But using URL, we can uniquely identify web resource, right? So that is the difference between URI and URL. URI means sequence of characters which allow to complete identification of any resource. It may be a physical or abstract, right? URL means identification of a web resource, and there is a mechanism to access it. That means initially we have to specify the protocol, and then the host name, and then next file name. Then URL is a URI. URI means a string identification of a particular resource. URL means identification of the web resource. So what is domain name? That is also identification string that is defined of administrative autonomy, authority of control within the internet. This is formed by the rules and procedures of domain name system, or we call DNS. So any name registered to the DNS is domain name. This is represented as IP resource. Actually in here I'll explain this one in another way. I told you that any computer or any devices attached to the network should have a unique identification. What is the method of unique identification? That is IP address. That means any device attached to the computer network must have a IP address, right? But it is very difficult to keep that keep in mind that IP address, right? So assume we can't remember that IP address of even our university website, but we know the URL of our university website, right? So there is a mechanism should map that IP address into URL, because of that IP address cannot be keep in mind. That is very difficult task, right? That is difficult task, not cannot be, that is difficult to keep in mind. So therefore we map IP address into a particular string, particular set of words. Then words are easy to remember than the numbers, right? Then solution is domain name. That means that a particular IP address mapped into a particular domain name. For example, so this is the IP address of this e-Taxala, right, which is the education network which is hosted in Ministry of Education. So this is the IP address of that website, but we can't remember this IP address. So therefore this IP address mapped into this particular domain name. Then this domain name can be keep in mind easily than this IP address, right? Then DNS convert this URL into IP address that the computer can understand, right? This IP address map into this URL. So when you type this URL in web browser, actually this IP address, this URL or this domain name including this URL including this domain name converted to this IP address. So that is the process of DNS or domain name server. Then the final topic is social aspect of the internet, right? First one is social networking and e-learning, e-commerce, e-governance. Actually I leave this topic because you know these things very well, so I'll put assignment based on these topics, right? I briefly explain these topics. First one is social networking. Social networking is an online platforms. That means user can create social relationships. Then by using those social relationships, they can share their ideas using text, videos among the relationships or their friends, right? Then next one is e-learning. E-learning means education system based on electronic resources, and actually here utilize the electronic technologies to deliver lessons in online. Actually now also I deliver this lesson in online. So teachers can deliver lessons in online and student can access the online materials and do their studies. Actually in their if they have the students have if they have doubts, then they can ask those questions through the online facilities. So that means they can send the email or messages, all those things are there, right? And in here there are predefined or the some systems which are freely downloaded, or we call open source system. One of the famous one is Moodle. Actually in here also we use that Moodle system, right? So you can study those systems by surfing the web, right? So by searching the internet you can identify, so you can study what is the e-learning and what are the available applications or available systems. Next one is e-commerce. E-commerce means selling and buying all the products based on digital technology. That means they can put their advertisements on the internet, and then they can request any products through the internet. Likewise we can use the digital technology. That means internet or the computers, softwares, all those are related to the digital technology. Those technology can be used to buying and selling products, which call that is e-commerce. Then the final one is e-governance. E-governance means providing government services over the internet. Assume in nowadays we can request for example our revenue license through the internet. So we can request for example say our identity card applications through the internet. So earlier we have to fill the identity card applications in particular material, and then we have to submit it to the our GS or Gram Sevak, and then we have to send that photos, all those things, and then we have to spend a lot of time. but in nowadays we can upload those certificates and all those things, and then we can request for our national identity card. That means government can government can provide the services through the internet, and then government can issue circulars through the internet, and then the people can surf the internet and then find in those information. That's what we call e-governance. Okay, then I stop in here, and then as an assignment you can study these what you call social aspects of the internet, and then I put that assignment as assignment number 1. Then try to do that. Okay, thank you very much.